So this guy thinks he's a real-life Batman. Now the guy's name is Matthew, and Matthew is an immigration lawyer in Silicon Valley, and he's a really smart guy. Like, he graduated from Harvard Law and everything. However, Matthew's also kind of a psychopath. Like, he has a bunch of mental health issues going on. So one day, around 2009, I guess he decides he's gonna terrorize some people. So at like 5 a.m. in the morning, he puts on a ski mask and he breaks into a random woman's house. And he ties her up and he makes her wear these blacked out swim goggles so that she can't really see anything. And then he forces her to drink a lot of NyQuil to make her feel drowsy. And while she's feeling all zonked out on that NyQuil, he starts snooping around her place to gather personal information on her. Then he tells her he's going to SA her, but then luckily he decides he's not going to for some reason. I guess he chickens out. And if that isn't weird enough, then he starts giving her crime prevention advice. Like, he tells her to get a dog so that will prevent future break-ins from happening. And then he leaves. And about a month later, he does the same thing again. He breaks into a random woman's apartment, he ties her up, he drugs her, and then he threatens her. Now, police investigate these weird home invasions, and eventually Matthew becomes a suspect. And they come to the law office where he works, and they question him, and who knows what he tells them. But, unfortunately, police, they don't really have enough evidence to just indict him, so, this doesn't go anywhere. However, just them questioning him makes Matthew super paranoid. Like, he starts believing all kinds of crazy stuff, like that the police are conspiring with the Chinese government to take him down, and that they're setting up spy equipment in his office at the law firm that he works at in order to spy on him. So in 2011, he gets a new job. But then he gets all paranoid again about that place. He starts believing that they are spying on him and trying to track his movements. So after working there for only 6 months, he straight up quits. And a few years after that, he turns into a real creep. Like, he moves to a new neighborhood and he kind of becomes like the neighborhood peeping Tom. Like, he's climbing on rooftops and spying on women through their windows and like taking pictures of them. This guy is just all over the place. But it's in this new neighborhood that he starts getting his wildest delusions yet. He starts thinking that the world's wealthiest people, the 1%, are part of some secret cabal and that they're actually demons. Like, legitimate demons. So then the next year, in 2015, he moves again to a remote cabin in Lake Tahoe. And there, he isolates himself from everyone, and he doesn't sleep much, and instead, he obsessively watches the Christopher Nolan Batman movies over and over again. And he ends up creating a nocturnal vigilante identity for himself. He gets a wetsuit and he creates kind of these crude weapons from items like flashlights and laser pointers and dog collars and swim goggles, stuff like that. Because this guy is convinced that he is a Robin Hood style superhero vigilante like Batman, and that he's going to fight evil, the evil being the wealthy 1% demon people, I guess. And so as this new vigilante, he selects his first target, a random couple living about 50 miles away. Denise and Aaron. And Denise and Aaron, they're this boyfriend-girlfriend couple, and they've been dating for a while, and Matthew thinks that they're privileged elite. But in reality, they're just normal middle-class people. So one night, he puts on his homemade vigilante Batman outfit, and here is where shit gets really crazy. While Denise and Aaron are asleep in their home, he breaks in. Then, boom, he wakes them up with a pistol pointed at them. And the pistol, it's actually a water gun, but, they don't know that. So he ties them up, and he makes them drink a bunch of NyQuil to make them all sleepy, and he forces them into the bedroom closet. Then he covers Aaron's eyes with blacked-out swim goggles so that he can't see, and he places headphones over his ears, and he forces him to listen to a pre-recorded message that says that the break-ins are being performed by professionals to collect debts. I guess that must be part of this Robin Hood delusion. I don't know. But then he places Aaron on the couch, and Aaron passes out because, he's all drugged up on NyQuil. But while he's asleep, Matthew steals Aaron's laptop for some reason. And that laptop will be important later. He also puts tied up Denise in the trunk of Aaron's car, and he steals it and he drives away. and he drives all the way to his remote cabin in Lake Tahoe. And there, he holds her captive and he essays her. Meanwhile, back at Aaron and Denise's house, Aaron finally wakes up and he sees that he has a voicemail message and it's from Matthew and it's demanding a ransom of $8,500 for Denise's release. So Aaron later ends up contacting police. While Matthew, he sends an email to a reporter at a local newspaper because I guess he wants the attention. I don't know. But in that email, he says that Denise will be returned safely tomorrow. That reporter then contacts police. 2 days later, Matthew decides to let Denise go. But he drives her all the way down to Huntington Beach, where her hometown is, and he drops her off there, which is like several hours from where she was first kidnapped. But whatever, she's finally free to go. And this whole experience has been bizarre and super traumatic, I'm sure. So then Denise and Aaron, they report all of this to police again. But here's the crazy thing, though. The craziest part about this whole thing is that police don't actually believe Denise. They think this whole thing is a hoax and that she and Aaron just made it all up. Police even go on the news and they announce that it was all a hoax.
I can tell you that our investigation has concluded that none of the claims has been substantiated.
And because of that, the local news starts reporting on it as if it may have been a hoax. And so now, in the public eye, Denise and Aaron are just a couple of liars who, for some reason, faked this whole elaborate kidnapping story. And police, they're not even looking at Matthew as a suspect at this point. So he's probably going to get away with this whole thing. Until a few months later, Matthew, the fake Batman vigilante, decides to strike again. And he breaks into another random couple's home in a different city. And there, he wakes them up by shining a flashlight in their eyes, and then boom, he hits the husband on the head with the flashlight, and a struggle ends up ensuing. While the wife, she grabs her phone and she runs to the bathroom and she calls 911. And while the husband is struggling with Matthew, he yells out, "Honey, get the gun! Get the gun!" Even though they don't actually own a gun. But this bluff works, and Matthew, he gets scared, and he flees the house. Here's the thing, though. During that fight with the husband, Matthew's phone had fallen out of his pocket. I guess his fake bat suit just doesn't have very good pockets. So the couple finds it, and they hand it over to the police. And police, they're able to trace this phone back to Matthew's cabin in Lake Tahoe. And so, bam, they arrest Matthew. Here's his mugshot. And so police, they search his cabin and they find evidence that he was involved in other home break-ins that we had talked about. And they also find Aaron's laptop that Matthew had stolen from them, which connects Matthew to their story, and it shows police and everyone else that it wasn't actually a hoax. Aaron and Denise didn't make it all up. She really was kidnapped. And so therefore, Aaron and Denise end up filing a huge lawsuit against the police department, and police end up settling with them out of court for $2.5 million. Good for them. Anyway, Matthew, he ends up confessing to the kidnapping and a bunch of other crimes, and he gets sentenced to 40 years in prison.